Hi, everybody. My name is Catherine Roman. I'm from Denver Natural Mom, and I'm very excited to have Jill Loftus with us today. Welcome, Jill.
Thank you, Catherine.
And Jill, the name of your company is?
Honest Occupational Therapy.
Yeah, and we have put together a series of webinars for you all based on what you said you want to learn from a pediatric occupational therapist. So to kick us off, Jill, tell us a little bit about just your field, maybe how you even got into this.
Sure. So I've been a pediatric occupational therapist for about 15 years, and most of that time was spent in New York, where I had a clinic in New York City and worked with children from about birth till 8 years old, and I still currently do that here in Denver. And pediatric occupational therapists can work with any type of child, children with and without disabilities, and we really pride ourselves on educating parents and caregivers and teachers so that all adults working with children can really understand child development fully.
That's great. That sounds perfectly in line with what we try to do at Denver Natural Mom, and just make sure parents feel informed about what resources are out there. And so the first topic that we're going to be talking about is sensory processing disorder. And this is kind of like, can I call it a buzzword? I feel like it's something that in the mom sphere we hear about, and it seems to me that there's a lot to it.
There is a lot to it, and it's also really simple, so it's kind of funny to try and describe it, but the easiest way to describe it is anyone's ability to take in information, to process it in our body, and to have what we call an adaptive response, meaning to have an appropriate response, or to really show people that you can handle what's going around in your world. Children who experience sensory processing issues and have sensory processing disorder have a really hard time getting through their day. So things like trying to get dressed in the morning is over an hour battle, or eating a meal takes a really long time, or they really don't want to go to the playground and play on the play structure. Or the opposite, they want to go to the playground all the time and they can't stop moving and they just want more and more and more and more and more. So we're really talking about severe reactions to sensory input that interfere with your day-to-day life.
Yeah, I'm glad you clarified that, because you said appropriate response, and there's a lot that little kids do, especially mine, that are not appropriate, but kind of trying to understand, what is this disorder all about? How could we possibly notice something going on with our kids or other caregivers? And you're going to give us all those tools for helping us to kind of understand and possibly uncover something.
Yeah, I mean, in the webinar, we're definitely going to talk a lot about that, some red flags, some things that you can look out for. And I think what's also interesting is that as parents, we think of or just regular people, we think about that we have 5 senses, and we actually have 8 senses. So there are what we call the 3 hidden senses. And those, to me, as an occupational therapist, are even more important than the ones that we do know about. So we're going to dive really a lot deeper into those 3 areas. I can briefly touch on them so we can kind of give a highlight.
Sure.
The first sense is called the vestibular system, and the really simple way of understanding that is your movement sense. We have little receptors in our ear that kind of tell us where we are in space. So when we're in the car, we know we're moving in the car. When we're on a swing, we know that's happening. When we do a forward roll, we know that that's happening too. There are children who don't know that that's happening to their bodies and kind of look a little clumsy or not really sure what's happening, a little lost. So that's one of those hidden senses. Another one is the proprioceptive sense. And that's a really big word too, but it really means more of your body sense. So if I was to raise my arm up in the air to shoulder height with my right arm, if I closed my eyes, I would be able to raise my other arm, my left arm, up to the same height. People who have proprioceptive issues aren't able to do that. They might raise their arm all the way up in the air. They might not raise their arm at all. They really have a poor sense of self. And we see that in some of these kiddos in having trouble getting dressed. I'm not sure where my leg is, and I'm not able to put my pants on. And the last sense is called your interoception, which means your inner sense. So things like feeling our heartbeat, feeling if we're thirsty or hungry, if we need to go to the bathroom. things like that. So a lot of times when you're having a very hard time toilet training your child, this could be something that's going on and can provide answers to these concerns you're really having about your kid.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like that's going to be illuminating for a lot of us. And just to jump over to our second webinar, then you're going to be going over toys and play. And I love this topic because, sometimes we get our kid a toy, here, go play with it. And there's really so much that we can be doing to kind of foster development.
It's so true, Catherine. And as pediatric OTs, we're really experts in play because a child's work is play. So when a lot of parents look at us and they're like, but you're just playing with my kid. Well, I hope that's what I'm doing, because that's what we want. We want them to be having fun. We don't want them to feel like they're working. So on the flip side of that, and just, choosing toys and play activities for your child, we really know a lot about developmental sequence, which means what a child should be doing when. So those milestones that we talk about, when they're sitting, when they should be walking, when they should be using their hands in different ways to play with toys. So in this webinar, we're really going to talk about those kinds of things. So positioning, we're going to talk about toys that are really appropriate. We're going to talk about things in your house that you can use and how sometimes those toys are way better than anything you can buy on Amazon or at the toy store. We'll also talk about how to include siblings in play and how to expand your play with your child and how to really elicit a lot of skills that you would maybe not be sure that you are supposed to be doing, and you want to make them even stronger.
I'm really excited about that one because, play, that's how they're learning, and they're learning from watching us, but they're also learning from all these interactions, and just to get some new inspiration and motivation to, I'm assuming, get down on the floor and play. So that's going to be a great one. And then our final webinar in this series is about fine motor skills. So first, just tell us kind of what that encompasses, if you would.
Yes, I will. We have a lot of fancy terms in OT. So when I break it down, you're like, really? That's so simple. And that's what I love so much about this profession. But fine motor skills are really the way that you use your hands to do day-to-day tasks, using the small muscles in your hand, your fingers, your wrists, to do the things that are important to you. So for a child, the four main areas that we're going to look at are in relation to academic skills. So using crayons, markers, scissors, anything that they would probably find at preschool. We're going to look at mealtime, how they use utensils and cups, and their ability to do chores around the table. We're also going to look at self-help skills, which includes things like getting dressed, using fasteners like buttons, zippers, and snaps. And then we're also going to look at play, because play is a big part of their day-to-day life. And are they using their toys and the things around them effectively and functionally? So that'll be a really fun thing too. I think parents will take away a lot of new tools in this one, because there's so many simple tips and tricks that I'm going to give you that are going to make your eyes open up real wide and be like, yes, I'm going to get my kiddo ready for preschool or kindergarten or whatever the next step for them is going to be.
Mm-hmm. Now, I know that, a lot of us fear like being behind, right? So that our child maybe isn't doing what they should be doing. And maybe some of these areas we're talking about, whether it's feeding themselves or dressing or potty training,
right.
But this webinar really isn't designed just for parents of kids like that. I mean, we went into this, Jill, really thinking about just the proactive parent that wants to make sure that in our daily routines, we're doing things that kind of encourage appropriate development, right? So I don't know if there's anything else you want to add to that, but just so for all the moms listening, if you're thinking about checking this webinar series out, just know that the intention is that something for everyone to take away and to learn and to implement. We're not diagnosing kids. We're just sharing it.
We want to make it accessible to all parents, and we want you to understand, to meet your child where they're at, to really just engage with them. And I think that's what's so important is, really getting down on the floor and playing with them, and connecting with them. So that's what I really would like people to take away from all of these topics, And also, I know you mentioned to me several times, and I thank you so much for this, but I have a weekly newsletter as well. And you can go to my website, honestot.com, and sign up for it. And it provides tips and activities and ways of finding resources in the community for children from birth, probably up through 8 or 10 years old even. Really go around. We have guest blogs from different kinds of professionals in the community as well. So please feel free to check that out and sign up.
That's fantastic. So, and Jill, you mentioned age, but these webinars are really targeted for parents of kids anywhere from birth to like about
5, 6 years old. I would say kindergarten ready, would be most appropriate.
I think there's a lot of moms that are part of Denver Natural Mom that will be able to learn a lot from you and from this. So thank you so much for putting this together, and I look forward to seeing you guys on the webinars.